Well, Halloween brings us some spooky astronomy. We've got Saturn and Jupiter ominously above us. We've got Mars creeping in, and we have some rocks falling from the skies. So, welcome to Observing with Webb for October of 2022, where a high school astronomy teacher tells you what you're looking at, why it's so cool, and what you should check out later this month at night. So, let's get started with the naked eye planets. So right around sunset, when most people are out looking on October 1st, we've got Saturn and Jupiter up there, and that's going to be the same for the rest of the month for the most part. It's just that by October 31st, by Halloween, they've moved significantly toward the west. But if we go to the 15th, what we can see is Saturn and Jupiter. Well, let's talk about Saturn. Saturn is 30 degrees above the horizon. It's in the south-southeast, and it is fairly dim, but it is brighter than all of the stars around it. That's why we then talk about Jupiter. Jupiter is over here. It is super duper bright. If you've been wondering what that thing is off in the east, this is what that is. It's Jupiter, the brightest object in the night sky other than the moon. And it's just super bright in the east. Find the brightest point of light and you've got Jupiter, right? So now we start talking about what planets are we going to see throughout the night. Well, as the night progresses, what you notice is Saturn and Jupiter move to the west, okay? Saturn will set around 2 a.m. and Jupiter will set around 5:30 in the morning. But what we also see is over on the left-hand side, over toward the east, we start seeing Mars. Mars kind of starts rising at about 10 p.m. in the beginning of the month and rises as early as 8:30 p.m. by Halloween. All you got to do to see Mars is look more toward the east and then find Taurus the bull, and you're going to find Mars up between the horns of the bull, way up here. Okay, so yep, there you go. There's Taurus. The main V is over here, but then those horns go much, much higher, and Mars will be in between. It'll also be above Orion, as you can see over here. So throughout the night, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. Now, by the morning, so let me fast forward to sunrise. You might see Mercury in the middle of the month, but that's going to be a tough one. Let me rewind time just a little bit. That's going to be tough to see, and it's right in the middle of the month by the 15th. But if we zoom out, we can still see, Mars is still up there. In fact, let me go a little bit earlier. There we go. It is way up there in the south. It is above Orion, in between the horns of Taurus, up there for everyone to see. It's going to be a little red-ish, dark red and ruddy, and below the moon on one of the dates. We'll talk about that soon. So there you go. All right, let's move on to some of the events. And a bunch of other stuff. So as far as the moon goes, okay, we're going to start off the month with the evening crescents. We're going to look at them in the west after sunset. On the 2nd of October is the first quarter moon. That's when the right half is lit up, and it's visible until midnight. Then you've got a week of evening gibbous moons. That's when it is mostly lit, and you can see it after sunset. Then you've got the full moon on the 9th. Yeah, it looks full on the 8th and the 10th, but it's technically on the 9th. After that, you've got a week of waning gibbous moons with a last quarter moon on the 17th. That's when the left half is lit up, and you can see it starting midnight and going into the morning. After the 17th, you've got the morning crescents. Just look east in the mornings, and then the new moon on the 25th. And then you'll find that we have another week of evening crescents off in the west for the rest of the month. And so then you talk about the moon. Where is it going to be? Well, it is going to actually visit all three of those planets that we talked about, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars, and in that order. Okay, so if we look at the sky, let's bring it back to let's go to sunset, and let's go to October 5th. Okay, And let's go a little bit later in the night. Let's get Saturn up there and the twilight gone. And oh, there we go. We can see the moon. It's a nice gibbous moon. And we've got Saturn up and to the right of that. I believe about 6 degrees. So on the 5th, the moon's going to be up there with Saturn. Now, if we zoom back out, okay, and let me go forward one day. Oh, it moves between Jupiter and Saturn. Okay, the 7th. And then on the 8th, the moon, basically a full moon. Technically, it's not till the next day. But on the 8th, you've got a nice, essentially full moon not far from Jupiter. In fact, it's going to be about 4 degrees. So if you put your 3 fingers out, or probably 2 fingers out, is probably how far they're going to be separated. Okay. So you're wondering, well, how does it get to Mars? Well, it's going to be later in the night. So let's fast forward night until Mars is up. And then let's move forward each night. Oh, there we go. We've got October 14th. No, you can't see it up there, but October 14th is when the moon is just 3 degrees above Mars. It's going to be a waning gibbous, okay? And you're going to have to get out after 9:30 p.m. to see this one, okay? After 9:30, and it's going to keep moving into the night. In fact, let's zoom out a bit, and then let's move time forward. By sunrise, it's going to be very high up in the sky by about, let's see, I'm going to say 60 degrees. Oh, 74 degrees. That is almost at the zenith. So take a look at that on the morning. So that would be the morning of the 15th, actually, where the moon will be right next to Mars. And again, just look right up above Orion. Orion brings us to another interesting point, because on the 20th, well, really technically the 21st, but if we just go to the 20th, you are going to have the Orionid meteor shower. Now, that is usually a pretty decent meteor shower. It produces about 15 meteors per hour. The nice thing is that we don't really have to worry about the moon too much on this one, because as you can see, it's a crescent. It's not going to be that bright. And if we rewind, it actually starts rising after, I believe, 3 a.m., something, or really 2 a.m. So you've got a nice, good view of the whole night sky on the 20th, 21st, 22nd. Those are going to be the times that you want to look for the Orionids, right? So they're going to be coming from, well, actually pretty close to where Mars is, which is pretty cool. So you kind of want to look at Mars, but look broadly at the whole sky, all right? Because if you just look there, you're not going to see too many. But if you look at the whole sky, you'll be able to see some of the meteors. This one will give us about 15 meteors per hour. So on average, you'll see one every 4 minutes about, which means get out there for at least 20 minutes, I'd say. And you have a good chance of seeing a good meteor. Now, I usually set aside at least 20 minutes because it gives me 10 for my eyes to get dark adapted, another 10 for just looking. I sit out on the hammock, so my head is nice and cradled, and, well, it's October, so I'm going to get a sleeping bag out to keep me nice and warm. But I stay there, and I don't look at any lights. I don't look at my phone for 20 minutes, because otherwise the light is going to make your pupils constrict, and you're not going to be able to see the dim meteors. It's definitely well worth the getting out there. Okay, so I would say any day between the 20th and 22nd, but the best will be the morning of the 21st. But hey, the best meteors are the ones that you see, so just get out there and have some fun. Lastly, October 31st, Halloween night. What can you see? Let's say you're one of those amateur astronomers that goes out there with your telescope and candy. You got to give candy too. But you can see 3 wonderful things up there. You've got the moon, a thick crescent moon, but it's a crescent moon up there. And then you've got Saturn and Jupiter. I mean, those are 3 great targets for a telescope. And if you have a good telescope, you've got some competing telescopes around you, you could even wow them by finding the Andromeda Galaxy up here. But I'm going to leave that to you. If you know enough, you know what it looks like, how to find it. But there you go. Halloween night, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter. It's going to be awesome. Let's hope for no clouds. All right, let's take a quick moment and look at some constellations. All right, so if you're going out there after dinner, what you should be able to find is these 3 very bright stars here that form the summer triangle. Now, those 3 stars are part of Cygnus, Lyra, and Aquila, the eagle, the harp, and the swan. And what you'll find is that the brightest star up there is Vega. That's the brightest star of Lyra. Cygnus is the brightest star, Deneb, and Aquila has the brightest star, Altair. So even in very light polluted skies, if you can't see the full constellations, you can still see this asterism, which is a common shape, but not an official constellation. Okay? So after dinner, go out, look straight up. You can still see the summer triangle. But if you're going out a bit later, okay, so let's go like 3 hours later. Let's say you're right before you go to bed, you're staying up late. You can find Pegasus right there. It's a nice big square in the middle of the sky up there. And then off to the left here is Andromeda. Looks like a cornucopia to me, but kind of looks like, 2 curved lines. And then if you take the middle 2 stars here and follow that same distance, you will see the Andromeda galaxy in this area. Now, if you have decent skies, you'll see it as just a little smudge, nothing major there. But it will be there, especially if you have a telescope. Now, if you're getting up super duper early in the morning, now we're getting to the point where Orion is looking great in the sky. In fact, we're starting to get into the winter constellations then, but I would say just go out there, look at Orion, see Mars above it as well with Taurus off to the right. Just an absolutely gorgeous thing to see. So just look at that. More details on the winter constellations to come later in the year. All right, so that is October of 2022, what's going on in the night sky. So get out there, check out the moon, check out those planets. It's a great time to look at them through your telescope, see what you can find, take some pictures with your cell phone, line it up, and then, share them out, and I'd love to see them. So with that, I would like to wish you all very clear, dark skies for October of 2022.